The top 10 most valuable Marvel comics of the year 1995. We got lots of cool books on this list. We're going to show you actually not just the top 10, but I want to show you number 11 because this one is such a unique book to make the list at this time. In 11th place, we have Barbie and Baby Sister Kelly. This is a 99-cent cover price one-shot book aimed at only girls and younger readers. So very few copies have survived. And it wasn't even for sale. It was only available in Marvel 4-packs. Print run estimated low at 50,000 copies. Ranks 11th of the year. Look at the CGC census. It's almost empty. Only 2 copies graded at all. And this book has been stalled the last few years in all grades, currently at $25. Number 10 of the year is Amazing Spider-Man 400. It's the newsstand edition, but beware, there is 2 different newsstand editions available. The one you're looking for to make this list is a rare one that we found for sale at Mile High Comics. You have to look at the back cover. There is a cutaway so that you can see the price and the barcode on the back cover. So you got to watch for this one. This is a true newsstand. The direct edition newsstand was just one that you could order at comic shops that didn't have the fancy cover. Print run estimated possibly low at 50,000 copies on this. Ranks 10th of the year, 69th of the year. We do not know how many copies exist on this because the CGC census does not split these books apart. So we really don't know what the deal is. In the Overstreet price guide, we can see that there's no movement in low grades, but it's been slowly sneaking up, now up to $38. The book ranking 9th of the year, and this is a unique one. We have Akira number 36. This is the 3rd last issue of this cult series. It's Japanese manga. It's a graphic novel size, hefty cover price, print run really low at 45,000 copies. Ranks 9th of the year, 53rd of the decade. Only 31 copies graded, 11 high grade, and 0 copies sold at Heritage. This book had a huge jump in the last year, doubling in low grade and almost tripling in high grades to $50. There are 7 9.8s and 4 9.6s. And that brings us up to number 8. Here's another unique one, just making our list for the first time this year. It had huge jumps in the last 2 years. Earthworm Jim number 1. It's the first appearance of this title and game in comic book format. This is the first of a 3-issue miniseries based on the video game. Cover price stayed the same for 25 years until it just recently became collectible, maybe due to its age. 90s nostalgia. Print run estimated at a low 50,000 copies. Ranks 8th of the year, 52nd of the decade. There are only 64 copies graded, but 46 high grade. Heritage has sold none of these. Fun action cover. In the Overstreet price guide, it's gone crazy. Look at the growth in just 2 years. It's gone up potentially 40 times in low grade in only 2 years. And the book has even gone up, 16 times in high grade, jumping from $3 to $50 in only 2 years. There are 30 9.8s and 16 9.6s of this book. Next on our countdown, in 7th place, another unique book, we have Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. This is a graphic novel, thick-sized book, $5.95 hefty cover price for the time. And this was even printed when the Punisher wasn't actually that popular anymore. He was sort of going out of style at this time. Print run estimated to be as low as 16,000 copies. We've got hot writer Garth Ennis on this book, Nick Percival cover, and Doug Braithwaite art. Almost every major Marvel character is in this book. Everyone from Daredevil to the Avengers, X-Men, Spider-Man, and Venom. Note that there are 5 copies grading Spectacular 9.9 on the CGC census. There is a second and third printing of this book, but those both came out 5 years later, so you really got to watch out which version you're getting. This ranks 7th of the year, 38th of the decade. There are 375 copies graded, with a whopping 266 super high grade copies. Heritage has only sold 2 copies of this book ever. And we show all the major characters of the Marvel Universe dead on the cover. This book has been stalled for a few years in lower grades and stalled in the last year in high grades. Now a $60 book. On the census, there are 5 9.9s and 154 9.8s. Which brings us to number 6. And now we have another non-superhero title here. And in fact, we have a magazine. It is Savage Sword of Conan 235. This is the final issue of the magazine-sized classic title from Marvel. This title ran for 21 years, 235 issues. But at this time, Conan was also going out of style in the mid-90s. Print run, really small, estimated at 37,000 copies. And keep in mind, there are direct and newsstand editions of comics at this time. So the newsstands will be extremely impossible to find. Now, it's the #1 most valuable Marvel magazine of the 1990s. It also ranks 6th comic of the year, 37th of the decade. On the census, still not many copies, 41 copies graded with 24 high grade. Heritage has only sold 1 copy. In the Overstreet price guide, this one has been stalled in all grades now for the last 7 years straight. So no movement at all. It's already pretty pricey simply due to its rarity. On the census, there are 9 9.8s and 15 9.6s. And now we are at #5, and we saw Akira 36, which brings us to Akira 37, the second last issue of the series. Also high demand, very small print run, estimated 45,000 copies. Ranks 5th of the year, 34th of the decade. 54 copies graded, 30 high grade, none sold at Heritage. Overstreet price guide, and again, another big jump in the last year for this issue. Almost doubled in low grades, more than doubled this year alone in high grades. There are 9 9.8s and 21 9.6s. Next on our countdown, in 4th place, we have another version of Amazing Spider-Man #400. This is a special anniversary issue. And of course, this was the death of Aunt May. Very historic issue. They did a bunch of variant covers. This one is the most valuable of them all. This is the limited edition die-cut white cover variant. But be careful with this one. This is not the flimsy white lace die-cut cover that you find all over the place. This is a really thick, pure, bright white die-cut cover. And if you look in the back, you can see it says Collector's Edition behind it. This is a specific print run. And print run on this one estimated to be possibly only 50,000 copies, maybe even less. It ranks 4th of the year, 33rd of the decade. 258 copies graded, 152 high grade, 2 sold at Heritage. In the Overstreet price guide, it's been stalled for a number of years now in all grades, currently sitting at $70. There are 75 9.8s and 77 9.6s. And now we are at #3. Here's a cool one on the list. Venom, Sinner Takes Us All. Venom had many, many series in the mid-90s, and this was yet another one. But this has a special key issue. It's the first appearance of Anne Wang as the female Venom, as seen on the cover. And we've got a print run estimated at 125,000 copies, which is not too high. Venom sales were definitely starting to dip at this point, as were many Marvel titles, compared to the Venom sales just 3 years earlier when they were at 1 million copies for Lethal Protector. This book ranks 3rd of the year, 27th of the decade. It is the 3rd issue of this miniseries. There are 772 copies graded, including 554 really high-grade copies. Heritage has sold 2 of these. And in the Overstreet price guide, this book had a nice jump in the past year, almost doubling in low grade and almost doubling in high grade, now at $85. There are 323 9.8s, 231 9.6s. Which brings us to #2. Why? Of course, it's got to be the last issue of Akira, #38, smallest print run of the entire run, still in the 45,000 range. This is the classic final issue. This one's been a key issue for a couple of decades now, and also because of its rarity. People find this tough to find. It ranks 2nd of the year, 14th of the entire decade. And the census is definitely climbing on this one, 143 copies graded, 70 high grade, but still Heritage has not sold any. In the Overstreet price guide, a nice bump this year. The book almost doubled in lower grades and more than doubled in high grade, jumping to $150. There are 39.8s and 49.6s, bringing us to the #1 most valuable Marvel comic of 1995. And this one is definitely here because of rarity. And this book really stands out. People really want this one now. It is G.I. Joe Special #1. It's a special one-shot. It's got a cover swipe of Spider-Man #1. And believe it or not, that is Todd McFarlane artwork, I believe. And this one-shot came out after the G.I. Joe series was canceled. So print runs were already extremely low, but they came out with this one, which reprints issue number 61 with new cover art. And what's interesting about this also, it comes out after that 12-year run of the original G.I. Joe, A Real American Heroes series. Print run estimated only 40,000 copies, making this one of the hardest G.I. Joe comics to find, and especially this being a Marvel title. It ranks the #1 comic of the year and 13th of the decade. There are now 482 copies graded, with 230 high grade. Heritage has sold 1 copy. So we got collectors who want this due to the rarity. We got G.I. Joe collectors who want it. We got McFarlane art collectors. And it almost tripled in the last year alone in low grades, and almost doubled in high grades. Now $150. There are 107 9.8s and 123 9.6s. Now we're going to compare these top 10 books on the CG census, see which ones are the most common and which ones are the ones that everybody's getting graded. Well, at the high end, we mentioned that Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe has 5 9.9s, and even Spider-Man 400 has 1 9.9. After that, they all have 9.8s, except, of course, that Barbie and Baby Sister Kelly doesn't have anything higher than even an 8.5. So that's definitely the rare book on our list. But on the high end, the book with the most copies graded actually is Venom, Sinner Takes All #3 with 772 copies. So there's no massive big books on this list. You know, there's nothing with thousands of copies graded. But that book seems to take the lead with 323 9.8s. Top 10 books of Marvel 1995. This series continues every week, going year by year, teaching you some Marvel history and what to collect. Please subscribe to this channel, and thank you for watching.